So this class is on older adults and frailty. As we know, and many of you are aware, the number of people age 65 and older in the U.S. is starting to go up quite dramatically. If you look at starting at about 2010, there really is going to be a very large upward tick in people age 65 and older. And if you even look at the bottom line of the number of people 85 and older, so we have more people over 85 than ever and more people over 65 older than ever. So this has a lot of implications from Social Security and Medicare funding to increase healthcare costs, especially, because we do want people to live longer, but we want them to live better and to be healthy over that lifespan. So if we have a lot of people 65 and older and many of them have chronic illnesses, it's going to get to the point where it's just unsustainable as far as healthcare costs are concerned. And when you start to look at healthcare expenditures, you can see as people get older, the cost of care is higher. So we spend the most money on the oldest ages. So, with many of the diseases we've studied and will continue to study throughout the course of the semester, heart disease, COPD, cancer, many of these, dementia, these are going to increase as people get older. So the cost of medical care is going to go up with age. Interestingly, why would we have a slide about living arrangements? Well, this has a lot to do with whether someone can remain independent or not. I think it's interesting if you look on the left side of the slide with men and you see that most of them live with a spouse, that there are, fewer men who live alone than there are women who live alone. So more women live alone. Now that may also mean too that they've been, maybe they've been never married, maybe they've been divorced, maybe they've been widowed, but that may have an impact on the type of health insurance they have. It may have an impact on their ability to afford to live, independently. So that we have more women living alone, we want to keep them, being independent. And you can see there really aren't a lot of people who live with, other relatives, although there are far more women than men who live with other relatives than who live with non-relatives. So with non-relatives, that would include people who live in assisted living type of facilities. So you can see it's a very small percent of the overall population. It's also interesting to see how by different ethnic groups how the numbers vary. That in some cultures it is more acceptable for people to, potentially live with their extended family than in others. Leading causes of death, this should be no surprise to you. Although heart disease deaths are going down, as we've discussed in previous classes, it is still overall the number one cause of death. But looking at these numbers, you can see whereas heart disease goes down, cancer might actually start to go up a little bit as people live longer. And although other diseases such as diabetes and COPD and Alzheimer's are very costly, percent-wise as overall cause of death, they're very much lower percent of cause of death than heart disease and cancer. And looking at the number of people age 65 and older who have chronic health conditions. So not surprisingly, there are people who have multiple chronic conditions, heart disease, hypertension. These should not surprise you at all, knowing what we've done from previous classes. Arthritis, a lot of people by the time they get to be 65. Interestingly, look at the disparity between men and women as far as arthritis. So more women than men have arthritis. And so the other conditions are, smaller, but cancer, any type of cancer, about 20%, 20 to 25% have had any cancer, and about 20% have diabetes. But far and away is hypertension, heart disease, and arthritis.